Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks, Allie.
We'll get started here with Josh and then Rue.
Hey Nick, how's it going?
Hey, Josh.
Good to see you. I wanted to rewind to the missed field goal yesterday. After the game, there were a couple angles that showed that Milton Williams might have gotten a hand on it. I'm wondering if you and your staff were able to review that tape and just your thoughts on the play if he did, have an impact on that.
Yeah, we reviewed it. It's hard to tell, and I'll ask Milton. We those guys had the day off today, and I'll ask Milton when he gets in if he got his hand on it. It didn't. I don't know because it went pretty straight, for a little bit, and then it took that right turn. So I'm assuming he didn't based off the kick's trajectory and everything like that, but. He may have, but that was there's a clip that somebody sent me of how our sideline react after the miss and how the fans in the stadium, I almost said our stadium, in the Arizona stadium, which might as well have been our stadium yesterday, react after the kick, and that was pretty cool to watch. That was a cool video.
Go ahead, Rube, and then Dave.
Hey, Nick. Jalen is such a weapon with the ball in his hands when he gets out on the move, keepers, all that stuff. How do you balance? I mean, I think he's averaging just under 15 carries per game. I think seven kneel downs. It's a lot, and he's taking a lot of hits. How do you balance how dangerous he is, what a competitor he is with the ball in his hands? He takes on contact to get that extra yard sometimes. How do you balance that with just trying to be careful and make sure he stays healthy?
Yeah, we never want him to take a lot of hits or any hits really for that matter. Some of those carries too, you're gonna have to calculate in like 7 of them yesterday were quarterback sneaks, right? As you guys all saw how we kind of handled a couple of those things yesterday. So, and not to say that that's a safe play for him either, but it's safer than the other ones in our opinion. But we're going to do what we need to do to win the football game. One of the things that makes Jalen a really good quarterback is the ability that he has to throw the ball, read the defenses, and have that ability to move around and make plays. And so, one big reason, you hear me talk about the offensive line every time I talk about our run game, of why our run game's good. Jalen has a huge influence on the backside of the run game because of his ability to run the ball. And now you got to run them for them to respect that, which we obviously do. But, why is our run game good? Why did it get going in the second half? It's still that Jalen's got that demands respect on the backside. And, I was always taught you win games on the front side, you win championships on the backside. That was always a saying Frank would say. And so Jalen does a great job of holding that backside. As far as scrambles, those are going to happen in the game when he thinks that he has a pressure breakdown or nobody was open on the perimeter. He's got to move and make a play. And you can see he creates on third down scenarios, can create first downs for you with his legs and with his arm.
We'll go to Dave and then Tim.
Hey, Nick, is there a benefit long-term to winning games in different ways like we've seen from you guys the last few weeks? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, I would love to win every game by a lot. I really would. Those are a lot less stressful. You played a good game when you hold them to 7 and you score 30 or whatever it is, right? But that's not the reality of this league, right? You're going to go through the grind. And in fact, more games are going to be like they were yesterday than they were for our first couple games, or for our Washington game or our Minnesota game. There's a heck of a lot more games like yesterday than those couple games. So you just like to be able to win anyway. You go through it and you're happy with the win no matter what. You're dissatisfied with the things that you want to correct. And first of all, as coaches, and then secondly, as the players. And so, you just try to go through and fix that as you would. But of course, there's benefits to win every way. And you say to yourself, well, we're going to be in those games when we're going to be in those games more so than not. And so it's good, when you win those games, obviously.
Go ahead, Tim, and then Martin.
Hey, Nick, just to follow up on Rube's question, how's Jalen holding up physically to this point in the season? And what is kind of your philosophy with he's obviously serving you guys very well with the run game and things that he brings to the offense, but you want to get him through a season. So where do you come down, I guess, on how you're handling it?
Yeah, again, he's smart with how he takes hits, and he's not going to be able to protect himself completely every single play. But he knows how to not take a hit. I mean, you saw him, and he's really shifty in there. Like, he ran one yesterday on an empty play. He kind of got out of the pocket, and he had this guy, the linebacker, trying to tackle him. He sticks his left foot in the ground and then makes a cut. And now that guy that you thought, oh, he's about to get hit, with how shifty Jalen is, he's about to get hit. He doesn't take that hit. So we trust Jalen, right? I talk about trusting Jalen, right? We trust him in those scenarios as well, like to not take big hits. Again, you're not going to be able to be completely perfect with that. Jalen, is going to be like all our other guys at this point of the year where you're 5 games into it right now. Your body's not going to feel like it did. And, your body's not going to feel like it did at the beginning of training camp. So he's just like all our other guys. But are we always trying to be smart with him? Of course. Like, we don't want to put him in danger. And so there's a difference between running him recklessly and really going through every play of when he is a running threat and say, are we putting him in harm's way, which is what we do in each and every case. And so if there's something that looks muddy, where maybe maybe a ball's going to be able to get spit back into a certain part of the field, we talk about that and we say, is this worth its, is this worth it, right? Is the 8 yards we're going to gain worth it on this particular one? And most likely the answer is no. And so what you're seeing is the plays we feel comfortable about. Again, is it going to be perfect? No. But what you're seeing on Sundays is the plays that we feel comfortable about putting them in that scenario. What you're not seeing is obviously the ways we're protecting them when we say scratch that, get that out, move this out, change this guy's blocking technique here. And I don't want to get too far into that because I think there'll be a competitive advantage if I get too far into this, but change this guy's blocking technique here to allow him to not take this hit that we don't want to. I mean, that is a constant part of our discussion. And so we're taking a lot of things out. We're keeping things in that we know we need in our offense. But then also the technique and the fundamentals of guys blocking assignments are tweaked to protect him as well. So I think I gave you quite a bit of information. I don't think I gave too much, and I probably need to stop right there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Martin, and then Bo.
Hey, Nick. One of the things Jalen was saying after the game yesterday was, he doesn't want to hear about being 5-0 and everything like that. Obviously, you guys are 5-0, and you'll probably be hearing about it this week, especially with Dallas coming in, Sunday Night Football and all that. So I was wondering, like, A, what that says about Jalen as a competitor, and B, what's your message to the team, like, going into this week against the Cowboys?
Yeah, same as it's always been, right? We got to go 1-0 this week, and to go 1-0 this week, we got to go 1-0 in the day we're at, and to go 1-0 in the day we're at, we got to go 1-0. Or we got to be ready with our walkthrough and our meet, right? Whatever we are in that particular time. Like, this isn't Jalen's first rodeo being 5-0, right? It probably happened to him every time he was at Alabama. It probably happened to him the year he was at Oklahoma. So he understands that, that it's just the next games that's the most important one. And so that's exactly what we preach as coaches and our players preach, in the sense of, hey, like, if does 5-0 feel good? Yeah. You want 6-0 to happen? Then you better do everything you need to do in that week to ramp up for it. And we can't control what happened in the past. We can't control what's happening way in the future. All we can control is is the moment we're in right now. And so go attack the day, and be hungry and humble, and attack the day, and let's get better today in everything that we do.
Go ahead, Bo, and then Chris.
Hey, Nick, I know that you can't get everybody the ball a ton every week, but A.J. Brown yesterday, 3 catches on the opening drive and then no catches the rest of the game. Why was it that that was sort of the way that things played out yesterday?
Yeah, it just there's going to be times where we have obviously we still have plays called for AJ, right? It wasn't like, all right, he got his 3, and this is the week Dallas gets a lot, and this is the week that Devontae gets a lot. It just, we have things called for him, and something, a ball might get batted, which happened yesterday, or there might be a pressure off the edge, and Jalen's about to step into the throw and make the throw to him, and it doesn't happen, right? They might, somebody might come free on a play that they had too many guys. We didn't have enough guys in protection, and he has to scramble and make play. So there's definitely plays being called for him, and it was the same thing to Devontae the first game, right? We had a lot of things called for Devontae that first game, 5 or 6 things that just didn't end up getting completed, and that's just the way the game goes sometimes. And you always want your receivers and your tight ends and your playmakers to want to get the ball in their hands. Because that's one of the reasons why they're big time playmakers, is because they crave the ball, they need the ball, they want the ball, and so that's nothing that we know he wants that football, and we got to do whatever we can to get it to him. But sometimes the flow of the game doesn't allow you to do that, and that's kind of what happened yesterday. It was kind of like I said it with Devontae in week 1. It was almost like a perfect storm of how it happened, and we didn't get him the ball. Well, and that's kind of the same case here. But make no mistake about it, our pass game runs through those 3 guys, and I think that's what you're seeing week in and week out. And I think AJ, right? I think AJ's in the top 5 in receiving yards, and he'll continue to be on that because we'll continue to try to feature him in the pass game.
Go ahead, Chris, and then Jimmy.
Afternoon, Nick. With you guys playing the Cowboys coming up here, how difficult is it for you guys, the coaching staff, to still want to do what you guys want to do, but still have to account for Micah Parsons from wherever, on the edge or in the middle? And
whatever you do, again, you're trying to put your players in the best positions to succeed, and you're not. And while you're doing that, you're trying not to allow their best players to wreck the game. And so he'll be accounted for every single play. That doesn't mean he's not going to make some plays here and there. He's a really outstanding player. I think we all know that. The league knows that. He's proved it for the last year and a half. So we need to do our jobs as coaches and put our guys in positions to, right, not only to be at their best, but also to defeat their best, right, and to contain their best. And so he'll be thought about, right? I think somebody asked me a question about this a long time ago, is like, hey, when Mike McCoy asked me, did you guys think about Von Miller today when Frank and I were with the Chargers and we were playing the Broncos? Like, hey, did you think about Von Miller today? Or did you think about Khalil Mack today when we were playing the Raiders? And I can't remember which one it was, but I said nobody thought about him. Everybody in his life didn't think about him as much as we thought about him today, and that's going to be the same way we roll this week.
We have time for a few more, so we'll get these last 4 in. Go ahead, Jimmy, Ed, Les, and then Mike.
Hey, Nick, that's a team obviously that's had, the Eagles' number in recent years. Is beating them specifically kind of, let's say it's more important than obviously, but is that sort of a benchmark that you want to beat this team because they won the division and they've, like I said, they've kind of, I don't want to say owned you guys over the last few years, but they've certainly had your number.
Are you talking about the Cardinals or
the Cowboys?
The Cowboys. I think I think the thing where it's like, hey, they've really controlled this series, because I heard the stat last week too about the Cardinals. The Eagles never beat the Cardinals since 2001 at Arizona. Like, we don't care about that, right? Unless we're doing something completely wrong in our preparation for a West Coast trip. Well, I don't care what happened. Like, I love seeing Donovan McNabb yesterday in that locker room. I was a big fan of his growing up. But what we're doing this week has nothing to do with what happened in 2001 in Arizona. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that's – hey, you guys have a lot of pieces that you have to write, and so I think that's sometimes in my mind a little bit more about the media angle at it. Like, hey, this series has been, because this is a whole new year. This is whole new players. Like, what does Chauncey care about what the series has been in the past, right? What does AJ doesn't care about that. Like, he's here to play this week. And so sometimes I just think that's more of we know how big of a game it is because it's the Cowboys, and we know how big of a game it is because it's the next one, and we know how big of a game it is because it's the division game. And we're just going to go about our business that way to prepare like we always prepare and not leave no stone unturned. So we don't get wrapped up in that, and that really the best teams I've been on don't get too wrapped up in all those different things, and they go about their business this week to get ready.
Go ahead, Ed.
Hey, hi, Nick. Just ask you about the Dallas quarterbacks. I guess at some point we'll know this week if it's going to be, Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott. You prepared for Prescott twice last year. What's the difference you see between him and Cooper Rush? I'm assuming you studied Cooper Rush at this point, but what are the differences you see between them?
Ed, I'm still early in my preparation on the offensive side for their defense, right? And I haven't met with Coach Gannon yet to think about that, and so I don't have a great answer for you at this particular time and I would just be making something up if I did at this point. And so I know Gannon's got some things that he's obviously he's ready with that answer. I need to talk to him still because all my preparation's been on the defensive side so far. But I will say, that Cooper Rush has done an excellent job. I mean, I think that the perception was like, oh, Dak's hurt and they're in big trouble. Well, this is a good football team, and this is a well-coached football team with really good football players all over it. And so you're seeing that they've weathered the storm, and that speaks a lot of who Cooper Rush is. I know Alex Tanney was a teammate of his at one point, and I don't remember where, maybe the Giants, and he speaks really highly of him, and he's not surprised by his success.
Last two here with Les and then Mike.
Hi, Nick. I wanted to ask you about the Cardinals blitzing yesterday. Obviously, you knew they were going to do that, but it seemed like there might have been some problems sorting it out at times, and it just didn't seem to go smoothly. What was going on there? What did you see?
Sometimes what's going to happen is they're going to bring one more than you can block, and that happens, all right? And so you try to do your best to put your guys in position to go through it. You give the quarterback the answers and the tools to handle it. They get you sometimes, and I didn't feel like we had a lot of free runners, but when they did have a free runner, it was because they had one more than we could block at the time. And so, hey, I mean, I'm not great at math, but I know that when we have 6 to block and they bring 7. They're going to be able to get home, and so you try not to let that happen as much as you can, but you also want to avoid being in 7-man protections at all times too, because then they don't do it, and then you only have a couple guys out in the route, and so it's a fine balance there. And I thought the protection was good. It was really good yesterday, and when somebody. It's more of a coaching thing when a guy comes free, in my opinion, right? And so, when we have free rushers, to me that was on us, and I don't think it happened a lot. But Jalen did a good job of trying to get us out of it, and they got us a couple times, right? And we got them a couple times, right? And with some of the things that we did to them, and so that's a give and take. You never want to let anybody get near the quarterback, but it does happen sometimes, and we'll work like crazy to limit that.
Did you get the hot reads on those? Did you get the ball to people you thought?
Well, I think there was probably a lot said about that we threw a lot of screens yesterday, and sometimes that is true, but sometimes it is the hot read that we're getting out of a bad play when we throw it over there, right? And so what some people might, right? The only guys that know if it's a screen or a hot is really us as coaches a lot of the times, right? And us as players. So sometimes that's happening. So, I think Jalen did a good job of getting the ball out of his hands. Again, did they get us a couple times? Sure. Did we get them a couple times? Yes. It was a good back and forth there. Excuse me. But, we'll be ready for that, and different teams present different challenges with that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Nick, you've spoken a lot about the need to protect the football and not turn it over, obviously. Jalen's only thrown 2 interceptions so far this season. He hasn't lost a fumble yet. How far did he have to come in that regard? Was that something that he was already inclined to be good at protecting the football, or did you guys really have to work with him over the last, year or two?
I think he was always inclined. I think when you grow up in I think every coach has that ingrained in him, like every coach, right? From high school to college to professional, like, hey, you win and lose games by protecting the football. So Jalen growing up with a dad that was a high school football coach, you probably teaching him. I'm teaching my son how to carry the ball already. And so he probably was taught the same things and how important that is in the game. And so he's always, I think he has that innate reaction to knowing how important it is to protect the football. But of course, like anything, like we're trying to master the fundamentals of how to protect the football. And so him going through reads the way he's going through reads, that helps him protect the football because he doesn't expose himself to as many hits when he's in the pocket and if he holds onto the ball. And so you always try to, he's developing there in a sense of he's just getting faster and faster making these reads because he's seeing more and more. And then how he carries it when he breaks the pocket's really important as well because, so we're constantly on him on the fundamentals. He does a great job. He understands how important it is to take care of the football, and he's done a great job with his fundamentals of when he is carrying the football. And that's no different than how we coach Miles or how we coach Devontae or AJ or Dallas, right? And so it's always about the fundamentals of how we take care of the football because we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, right? We can talk about how important it is to protect the ball, but if we're just saying, hey, protect it, and they're just saying, oh, hey, we got to protect it, then there's no real teaching going on there, right? And so it's about how you protect it, right? And so like one of my least favorite coaching points that anyone says is, hey, catch it. Well, yeah, we want to catch it. Why did he drop it? And then go on from there and make the fundamental corrections. And it's the same thing with, hey, protect the football. Well, how do you want me to do that, right? And so that's what's the most important part of our job, and then the important part of the player's job, understanding, the fundamentals of how to do it. And Jalen does a good job of that.
All right. Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thanks everybody.